What's going on, everybody? Murk back here with some more Draft League action. This is going to be NPCC Week 7 versus Burke, coach of the New England Patrats. He's a friend of ours. Make sure to go check him out. He's a cool guy. And he's a pretty good league battler, so I definitely had my hands full this week. Definitely one of the better coaches that will play in the entirety of this season, so I definitely had to play on my A game to make sure I win this game. I don't remember exactly what his entire squad of 6 is, but he brought Electros, Zoroark, the Decidueye, Jirachi, Florges, and Terrakion. Some of his other mons that I remember were like Salazzle and Z-Move Dragonite, and it kind of stops from there. I'm totally blanking on it, and I don't want to look at the team. Anyways, the team of 6 that I brought was Stunfisk, which was mixed defensive with Toxic and some moves to hit things. Also, he had Meloetta, which I was very afraid of. Then I have Mixed Bulk Skarmory again. It's max special defense with the Impish Nature, which was good to check a lot of his offense. Then I have Mixed Bulk Crest because it just eats hits from like all of his team, though it doesn't have a fantastic matchup since he does have the Zoroark and the Electros, which chips it down, and the Jirachi and the Decidueye. So maybe bringing Crest wasn't my best idea, but I kind of needed it for some stuff. Then I've got Mixed Tapu Koko. Or was it mixed? No, it's just like fully physical, I think, with like Wild Charge and U-Turn and Brave Bird and those kind of things. And it was a pretty good breaker against him. Then I have Life Orb, 4 attacks, Zygarde, because he doesn't really have a good switch into it if I predict right. I've got Crunch to hit the Decidueye, and then I have dual ground moves because if he does, I didn't really need coverage. And then I have Outrage to spam possibly against like Dragonite and such. And lastly, we got Weavile. I'm rocking Icicle Plate Weavile with Sword Stance. I'm actually not running max attack. I ran enough defense on this thing so I could take like a +1 extreme speed from a D-Knight after rocks. I think that was possible, either that after rocks or from full. I can't remember which one, but looking at his team, he might be bringing Defog on the Decidueye, but if he doesn't have it, then he has no removal, and that'd be good. So I'm just going to lead off with my Stunfisk, because he doesn't have he doesn't have anything that can just straight up one-shot Stunfisk, so that's cool. And I can get my rocks up if I do have a favorable lead matchup. So I'm going to lead off with that, as he is going to go ahead and lead off with his Electros. And Electros is very, very annoying to me. I never like facing this thing because it's just an annoyance. But right away, I'm going to drop a Toxic on it because it's most likely a Solvest for my Tapu Koko. And he's going to go for the Giga Drain and do a chunk, showing these offensive as I'm going to be able to poison this thing. Fortunately, I do hit and all that. So I am going to be able to poison this thing, and now I'm able to wear it down. So here I'm fully willing to take another Giga Drain to get my rocks up, because even if I'm weak, I should still be able to check the Jirachi depending on its set. It's more likely going to be like a defensive set, probably Colbur Berry or something like that. He's going to go for the Acid Spray right there, I guess predicting my switch out, maybe, as I'm going to go for the Stealth Rock here. And this is fine because he's not gaining recovery from that Giga Drain, and I can get a little bit of health back from my lefty, so I'm definitely at a range where I can take stuff like Close Combat from Terrakion and a lot of Iron Heads from the Jirachi if I need to. So now I'm going to pull the switch out into my Cresselia, just here to be a fat pivot into stuff, as he is going to go for the U-turn now. So that's annoying. I could have potentially fired off like a Foul Play or an Earthquake predicting that, but I didn't. So he's going to go into the Jirachi, and this thing is very annoying. I'm not sure what set he's going to be bringing right off the bat, but I did notice that unless he brought Rocks to Terrakion, which I found unlikely, this is probably going to be his rocker, which would then mean that he's more likely going to be like a defensive supportive set. And he does go for the Thunder Wave, so that kind of tells me he's more than likely going to be defensive. And I also did not see leftovers when he came. Well, I'm going to T-Wave him as we just trade T-Waves, and we're going to see he's not leftovers, so that just screams that he's Colbur Berry, which is going to be annoying for Weavile, since because I'm not Life Orb, I'm not going to be doing a ton to this thing, and I potentially might not even be able to 2-hit KO it. So that's the thing. I'm going to go into my Stunfisk now to be able to take any hit, as he is going to go for the Stealth Rock, which I did figure was kind of going to be his play. And I'm just going to click Foul Play here. If he decides to like U-turn and he gets paralyzed, then I could pop the Cobra Berry, which would be fantastic. That would be the most ideal, but he is and break through. Really wish he did get that thing. It would have been nice if I could have gotten a little luck with the para, but unfortunate. He's going to go back into his Electros, and it's going to take rocks, it's going to take a Foul Play, and then it's going to take a round of poison damage. So it's going to be taking quite a bit of chip, which is nice for me. And because he's most likely running like Quiet with max attack IVs, he did take a fair chunk from that. So it's definitely below health, below a stage of health where it wants to be taking on Coco. And here I'm going to make kind of a bad play and go directly into it. I should have calced how much this thing was doing, because as you're going to see, it's going to fire off a Giga Drain. Of course, after the animation, he's going to fire off a Giga Drain, and that does a lot, because Coco's really frail, and I think I was mixed and naive, so yeah, that did a chunk, which is not great, because I should have kept my Coco healthier in this game, but I'm going to fire off the U-turn now and get more chip damage. I really should have just gone hard into Cresselia if we're being 100 with it, as I'm just going to U-turn and go into Crest now, which I should have done in the first place, because preserving health on Coco would have been smarter. So I'm going to take the rocks, as he's going to go for the Giga Drain, and he is going to crit me, which still does not do a damn thing because I'm a Crest. And what I can do here is I was going to click Ice Beam right here in case he wanted to like make some sort of play, but in all honesty I should have just gone for the Moonlight, because he would have gone, it looks like he's going to go down to Poison on the next turn. So he's going to go for the Acid Spray, dropping my special attack, doing a little bit of chip damage, pretty much negating lefties, and I get full parried. It doesn't matter because I clicked Ice Beam. It would have mattered a little more if I clicked Moonlight, but that's unfortunate. Well, it's not really unfortunate, it doesn't matter. So, possibly a misplay, but it didn't matter because it got parried anyways. So, the eel dies, which is nice for me, but now he's going to go into the Terrakion, but as you're going to see, it's going to take damage as if it's neutral, and I figured there's no way that he just hard switches in Terrak, so I know it's Zoroark, but I didn't want it to set up a nasty plot in my face. So, I'm going to leave in my Crested Eye, which is definitely a mistake. I think my better play would have been to just sack off Stunfisk at this point, because Skarmory and Crest could have handled his team where Stunfisk was less needed. So kind of a silly play on my part, but I didn't play this game perfectly. So I'm going to go into my Zygarde and click Earthquake right here. I really wanted to click Crunch, predicting the Decidueye, because it could have possibly 2-hit KO depending on his spread, as I'm going to go for the EQ, and after the rocks it does a chunk. I don't think I can knock him out with a Crunch from here, but I want to get the chip damage off on him. And I do see that he's lefty, so he's not a berry, of course. And I'm going to go for the Crunch here, and I heavily considered going for the double Earthquake here, predicting him to go into like Florges or Terrakion, trying to catch me on that. But I'm going to play it safe and go for the Crunch as he does go into his Florges. This potentially could have got me a 2-hit KO, which would have been really, really good for my momentum, but I'm not going to make the play, and it's going to cost, well, it's not really going to cost me because I have my Skarm, which can come in, but what this does allow him to do is get up a free Wish, and because of my Skarm not being able to hit things super hard and me wanting to get up spikes, he can get something in and get it back up to full health, which is not fantastic. I was able to get rid of the eel before he could potentially Wish Pass into it, which is good, because I would not wanted that thing getting back up to health. That would have been pretty bad. So he's going to switch out and go back into the Zoroark, which is disguised as this Terrakion. And I'm going to get my Spike up. And now Spikes are really helpful because it just chips down his team. I kind of wish I got them up a little earlier in the game, but I didn't really see an opportunity to at any given point. So this thing is back at full health. It doesn't really matter because I can one-shot the thing with like all of my offense anyways, so yeah, not a huge deal. But now I'm going to sack off my Stunfisk here to like a Flamethrower or a Dark Pulse or a Night Daze or whatever he goes for, and kind of hoping that he might miss a Night Daze so I can get some damage off on this thing. But, you know, it doesn't really matter all that much. So Night Daze does an absolute ton to me, even though I am, like, kind of specially bulky. No, I was more impish. I was more physically defensive, I think. But he's going to be able to 2-hit KO me with a Night Daze. He doesn't miss, even though it has a decent shot of doing that. And Stone Fist goes down, didn't really do a whole ton. It got rocks up, which is good, and helped get rid of the eel. So now what I can do is go into my Tapu Koko. It was kind of a toss-up of what I would have gone into here. Possibly going into Zygarde was better. I'm not exactly sure, because they all had the same amount of... It didn't really matter what I went out into. But I'm going to click Wild Charge right here, as he's going to go into the Decidueye. It's going to take the rocks and the spikes, and it's not going to be able to take 2 hits from my Koko from here. So I go for the Wild Charge. It does a chunk, and he's left at a point where he just dies to like a U-turn or something. Probably should have just gone for the Wild Charge right here, or the Brave Bird to knock it out, so that I couldn't, I don't know. Just leaving this thing in would have been fine because it's not doing a ton in this game, but my thought process was being able to get a big hit off on the Jirachi or the Florges would have been fine, except that my Zygarde and my Weavile do that anyways. So I'm going to go into my Zygarde now, as he is going to go into his Terrakion. And now here's where I think my biggest misplay of the game is. It just screams he's Scarfed. I figured he was Scarfed. And I ran a quick calc, and it showed that if he was a Jolly Scarfer, my Skarmory had a shot at a really good chance of living this hit after rocks. But I failed to notice that he could easily run Adamant, which put it heavily in his favor to 2-hit KO me. And you know, as you'll see, that does a ton. That did an absolute buttload of damage. And that's easily going to 2-hit KO me. My play should definitely have been to sack off my Tapu Koko. And by losing Skarmory, this puts me in a bind. This puts me in a very, very bad spot to where I'm most likely going to lose the game unless I can really pull out a magic trick. So I'm going to go into Koko here, and basically my plan is to just double check if he's Scarfed, because I thought he could potentially be like Fist Plate or something, and if he wasn't Scarfed then I just won the game pretty much. But he is, and he goes for the close combat. Now here, he's at -3, and at the range he's at, like a Choice Banded or an Adamant Life Orb Weavile's Ice Shard would be able to knock out Terrakion from here. So his play in his mind is to just switch it out and then switch back in so that he's not at health. But I am Swords Dance. So what I can potentially do is, knowing that that's his play, he doesn't know it's a choke, but I basically have to bank on him preserving his Terrakion and resetting his defenses so that my Weavile can come in and set up a Swords Dance. And now here's the moment of truth, basically. I'm going to go for the Swords Dance, and it depends on what this Rachi's set is. If he's certainly Colbur Berry, but depending on his investment, I could knock him out. So I'm going to go for the knockoff right here. He is the Colbur Berry, and are we going to be able to do enough? Are we going to be able to clutch this game? No, we're not. So this and I'm not going to be able to get the paralysis either, which would have also probably won me the game. So that's a little too bad. I can come in with Zygarde and knock out the Jirachi, but he just comes back in with Terrak and wins the game. So I don't love how I played this. If I was Life Orb Weavile, I would have been able to win with that, but I had my reasons for not running Life Orb. It was to check the Dragonite, which was definitely a big threat to my team, even though he didn't bring it. So yeah, it was a bummer for sure. I would have liked to win this game. Obviously, I really dislike losing, and I was a little upset with myself because I did not play this game optimally. Definitely, sacking Skarm was a pretty big choke on my part, I felt like, because Skarm could have really just walled out the rest of his team. I mean, he did have the Zoroark, but having Skarm there to pivot the Terrak was something that I really needed late, and I just didn't do it. So yeah, not too stoked with how I played in this game, but it was a good match. Burke did play well, he planned well, and he was able to get me. So we're going to take our first L in the NPCC. I really wanted to go undefeated this season. I thought I had a good shot to do it, but Burke's a good player, and there's no shame in losing to him. So even though I'm not happy about how I lost this game, there's still a lot of time left, a lot of weeks left, and yeah, we can pick up some more wins, have some more fun, and do some more stuff. So hope you guys enjoyed this. If you did, drop a like, leave a comment, that sort of stuff, and I'll see y'all later. Bye.